We head out to the fan hotline and welcome on of The Athletic. Zac Jackson joins us right now. Zac, welcome to the show.
Hi, guys. How we doing?
We're doing all right. It's a good Friday. How about you, bud?
Yeah, good.
This season's been full of joys, so it's been really good.
Gets interesting. It probably gets even more interesting from here, given the Dylan stuff and the Shedeur stuff and jobs and all that. But I'll ask you: is there a stat line that you could see from Dylan on Sunday that would make you go, "All right, maybe we were too quick in our judgment"? The 5 previous starts.
No, the only stat line I see is 18 of 32 for 176, just like the other ones. But what you said before that, Nick, is interesting because I've covered a lot of these. And with 8 to go, I would say that this one probably does stand as more interesting, or at least some of the possibilities that are still out there stand as more interesting, than some of them have been. Because, if you win 6 games in 2 years, you shouldn't have any job security, right? If you're out there completely overmatched as a quarterback, you shouldn't have any job security. There's 5 games at home, which adds a fascinating angle to this. And, there's still chances for this team to legitimately play spoiler. And this defense is still good enough to do that to somebody. So I left some of them out, but, this is a dead season, which is always going to be in terms of them winning anything that goes in the books. But this is not a dead story, by any means. I mean, yes, January through March are going to be fascinating, but it's not like we're there quite yet.
Zac, so you kind of sound like you're just ready to see Shedeur then.
Probably, yeah. There's layers to it, Jonathan, but what we've seen here tells the story. What we've seen here is completely unsurprising, and what we've seen here is not really going to change. And it does not all lay on the feet of the current quarterback, right? But, this is what they've signed up for. This is who they chose, and this is what he can do. And so, that's not to say there's not some drama with this Sunday. There's not to say that I truly do think, and this kind of sums up the whole state of things, I truly do think the offense was a little better in some areas last week, right? But there's a ceiling on what it can be. So there was never any intention to play Shedeur, but a lot of the other plans, or what they were supposed to be, have been thrown out the window too. So I'm probably ready for the next chapter in that, which at some point soon I truly believe it's coming.
Zac, would a win on Sunday against the Ravens cancel out the Jets' loss?
Yes, it would. It actually would, because it would temporarily change the whole vibe. It would serve as the spoiler. It would shake up the division and the AFC playoff race, and it would both validate this defense and further frustrate the fan base by saying we had a defense that was good enough to actually deliver something, or at least bigger games, right? And then at least the next couple of games would matter. So I do think the Browns will show up and play on both sides. I do think this defense is built in a way to frustrate the Ravens. So add some weather, and both teams kind of probably believing that 16 or 19 points wins it. And this could be an old-fashioned slobber knocker, and the longer the Browns drag them into that, the more chance they have for something crazy to happen and actually win.
Zac, I'm just curious, because you just said an answer ago that you thought there was never an intention to play Shedeur Sanders. What exactly did you think? Now that we have the idea that we've watched this season go the way that it's going, and it does seem like Shedeur will get in, or maybe even Deshaun gets in, I don't know. But once we see where it's at, what do you think the intention actually was?
Shedeur was drafted as a developmental quarterback, right? And Shedeur remains a developmental quarterback. So when I said that, Jonathan, I'm not just reading tea leaves. That's things that have been passed along. I think that's fairly obvious, right? So, first of all, I would say that there was no intention initially to put Dylan in on October 1st, but that happened, October 5th, first game of October, right? So I believe, and always have believed, that Shedeur has the talent to be at least an average NFL starting quarterback a year or two from now. So I don't know, because we're not in practice, where he is or what playing him now and on this sunken ship would really do to that development. And that's not for me to decide, even if I did have a better idea of where he was, right? But always it was about, hey, this is a unique case because there's talent here to get this in the 5th round at this position. So if we can bring him along slowly, and if we can eventually get him to develop and put him in the right situation, maybe they have something. And what I saw for almost all of training camp backed up that thought, right? So, does he have to play? What does, if he plays a few games, really mean in his long-term development? I don't know. Mm-hmm. I know as a franchise they're where they didn't intend to be, but I just wonder just how many more games you could go through with the same thing, because like I said, that's the easiest question I've ever been asked in a radio interview is, what do you expect a stat line to be on Sunday? That's what it is every Sunday.
Zac Jackson of The Athletic on the fan hotline here. So obviously the next 8 games are interesting because of the quarterback spot, but you had mentioned, coaches don't traditionally get 3 back-to-back 3-win seasons and keep their jobs. So I'll kind of go here. What do the next 8 games have to look like for Kevin Stefanski to really be able to entrench himself going forward?
I think real improvement in implementation of plans towards improvement. I mean, I would just say that, frankly, Nick, I probably mean the front office more, if not as much, obviously, as the head coach in terms of what I believe needs to change right now. But, I don't think there's any really rebuilding going on. And I think the first 4 guys they drafted are really good players. But, I'm not seeing anything in terms of a build. I see a built defense, right? But I see an offense that for the second straight year is completely sunk. I see every week a combination of weird, bad fundamental football in some areas, multiple, that's leading to this team being in a bad spot. And as soon as this team's in a bad spot, it just doesn't recover. So, these games are supposed to be close. They're supposed to be competitive. They should have won in week 1. They won in week 3 when they didn't score a point for 56 minutes. But just overarching here, for a season and a half, this offense has been unwatchably bad and does not score and does not scare anyone. So that probably is what would have to change for me.
You're around this team a ton, obviously. What do you think is one thing that is misunderstood about this team from either the general public or the general Browns fan?
I don't know. That's not one I've thought about, but I would say one of the things that I've wrestled with here, and I know it's a different argument that none of us can win every single day, and God bless you guys for doing it 5 hours a day every single day. But one of the things that's disappointing to me, or that says a lot to me, is that it's like the NFL is full of surprises and full of things don't last, right? But this has been fairly predictable. Defense is really good, offense is a complete disaster, right? There's some promising young guys here. There's not enough. The offensive line is a mess. The wide receiving core is an embarrassment. Those things are predictable, and those things are very bad.
Zach, you're going to hate this question. It's a hypothetical. I get it. But would the Browns have a better record if Mike Vrabel had become the head coach last January?
Yes. But, there is no way that he was going to be it was never a realistic possibility, and there was no way that after being here that he was going to want that job, even if it was. So it was a unique set of circumstances that led him here, and I think it was an innovative move and a positive one to get him here. And I think everybody on board was fine with him leaving, and they got the intended result. And he saw an organization that had a bunch of cap space and a gem of a young quarterback, and I think he would have been on the first plane there even if he didn't have deep personal ties there. So just more than anything, the situation here is not appealing to a top-level coach, and Mike Vrabel is a top-level coach.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I feel like that often gets just a little misunderstood in the conversation of it all. It's Vrabel was not. There was no amount of money that we were going to throw at him for him to be all right, my second chance at this, I'm going to take this job. First off, he always wanted the Patriots, and second off, they had a young quarterback in Drake May that had already proved himself.
Right. In the 46 years I've been covering this team, I would say that is the dumbest discussion of them all. This team let Mike Vrabel leave. Right. Seriously, and I know there's dumb people out there, and every Sunday people get dumber, and that includes me. right? Well, like getting dragged into this. But like that is probably, honestly, the dumbest discussion of them all.
Zach, I did see you had retweeted the piece where I talked about quarterback needy teams and how they're approaching 2026, and basically that they're just making other plans other than banking on this class. Can the Browns afford this in 2026 to not take a quarterback in the first round?
Ask me that on January 7th when we know the draft order.
All right, we got it locked in. January 7th, you're back here.
All right.
And
verbal contract.
Yeah, and last year Jonathan was first to get the Shedeur jersey, and this year he might be first to get the Mac Jones jersey.
No, that's a depressing jersey.
I don't think so. What's more depressing, Mac Jones or Kyler Murray?
Well, the cool thing about a Jones jersey is that there's going to be another Jones Browns jersey.
The Kyler Murray discussion is so depressing. There's no way. I can tell you that the Browns are not a Kyler Murray team.
Have you heard Nick's all short king room?
Oh, you ruined
his quarterback
it.
room that he wants. Well, tell him. Go ahead, tell him.
Kyler, Dillon, and then you draft whoever the shortest quarterback in this draft, and that way, like remember, we have a spread offense, we have a West Coast offense. No, we've got a short king offense.
Yeah, I would say for me to say that the Browns aren't going to do something with all I've seen is pretty strong, but they're not going to be a Kyler Murray team.
All right, let me ask you, I saw you tweeting about Paul DePodesta. What was your interpretation of the press conference? Was it a shot at Stefanski, or was there more to this?
No, it was given some thought, and I'm done giving any thought to the DePodesta era, but given some thought, it was a reference to what went around here was spread around by one very uninformed person. And it was probably a little too in the weeds for that format, but Paul obviously wanted to get it off his chest, and frankly, he has that right. He has the microphone. The Rockies chose him. And so, yeah, it's not like I spent a ton of time. I just watched the 2 clips, and I did see it last night, but this week especially is not the week for me to be hanging around the Twitter discussion and argument of the day, because none of us are getting any brighter from any of that.
I actually 1% brighter. Just this week, I got like 5% dumber last week, so it's kind of evens out in the wash.
It's been a long few months.
It's gonna get longer. All right, so the chief strategy officer leaves. It's not that I don't want analytics here, because that's the dumb thing that you're talking about, but I also would like maybe football instead of, if you're 100% analytics, I'd like, can I get like 85% analytics with a football guideline? Is that where you're going to go with the Podesta going, or do you think that their process is their process?
No, I think analytics have a place in the game for sure. They had their processes. He was here 10 years. These other guys have been here 6 years. I mean, by NFL standards, that's a long, long time. By Brown standards, that's centuries, right? So, no, I think because of the losing, Nick, and because of the air of secrecy that was and remains here, that sometimes that argument gets dragged into, areas where people just don't know. But, every team has an analytics department. The Browns is bigger than the rest of them, but every team has an analytics department. Every team has a research department. Every team should be using data and historical data and things to get every edge. Like, this is a super competitive league. And of course there's secrets, right? So when in the few cases that you do have an edge or have developed one or have a secret that you can unveil on a certain Sunday or potentially in a draft, you should use it. But I think there's so much blurriness and stupidity that got involved in the whole thing. You need good football players, and you need to be well run. You need them all. But, I just think it's gone well beyond the outside discussion of anything that it was. No other team had a chief strategy officer, right? Every team has something similar, and people whose jobs it is to help the people who sign off on the final decisions make smarter decisions. Every team applies it differently. Every team makes those decisions differently.
All right, Zach, we might as well just touch them all for this segment then. Does Deshaun Watson get a start at any point this season?
I'm still pretty strongly no. I'm not flaming. The door does remain cracked, right? And if he is elevated or, his window is opened, I guess, then there would be 21 days before they had to elevate/activate him. So the door is cracked. But I am strongly against that, or pretty strongly thinking that it won't happen. And I just cannot imagine them presenting a situation to where he would run out of the tunnel and start a home game, and they would allow him and themselves to get booed that way. I just don't think. I think there will be a formal split in the offseason, and the sides will go their separate way, and it will be remembered as it should be, as one of the worst trades in the history of sports, something that sunk a pretty promising run they had put together here.
Zach, we got a boogie, buddy, but great stuff. I enjoy the game on Sunday, and cherish these next 8 weeks. We really only have so much time on this earth.
I'll see you on January 7th.
Looking forward to it.
That's a verbal contract. That's a legal binding agreement there. Zac Jackson, The Athletic, on the Fan Hotline.